Not all instincts are meant to be acted upon. Discernment will be key on this new moon in Cancer. This new moon in Cancer is bringing a storm, a push-pull inner tension moment, tremendous pressure to become what you already have been, this occult warrior who is striving for structure, sacred sensitivity, redirecting your emotional outburst, and ultimately burning away through the storm the false self, the false identity of who you thought you needed to be, of how your emotional scars continue to structure your day to day based off of past wounds that we now have the chance when there's new moon in Cancer to rewrite. Hit the thumbs up and the likes button if you're brand new, subscribe. We're going to talk about all 12 horoscopes and zodiac signs. Also understand that there is going to be that 5-week alchemical activation circle. Maybe you caught the Father's Day sale that I put out there. Tremendous discount. Okay, it's like a third of price off total. But hit the thumbs up and likes button. Let's get into the new moon in Cancer. And we'll talk later about the all 12 horoscopes and zodiac signs for the things that are being learned. See you soon. Step 1 on this new moon in Cancer, which will manifest in January of 2026. So okay, stay tuned for that date. Is a mouse and a cat who are arguing. This is Tom and Jerry energy, back and forth. Okay, a lot of jokes, a lot of tricks, a lot of defense, a lot of emotional defenses that will want to rise, these initiations of our intuition that will guide us through the trickery of the mouse and the cat playing and arguing together. This Sabian symbol is one of inner conflicts, of power dynamics, you know, Tom and Jerry, okay? And it's really going to bring us through a push-pull tension because prior we have Jupiter in Cancer, which will square Saturn in Aries. Leading up to it, we will have Mars in Leo, prior squaring Uranus and Taurus. But we have a lot of beautiful benefits as well, and it's going to be the sextile between Mars and Virgo. First time it's been here after spending a very long time with Mars and Leo, 7-8 months. And it's a tremendously different energy. Mars is no longer in a fire sign, okay? It wants to get more calculated, more methodical. It wants to really create bookmarks and organize our entire CPU computer system within our mind. So this push-pull on the new moon in Cancer is about intellect and intuition, back and forth, all right? So let's talk about the Nakshatra, the constellation in the sky, which is going to be Ardra, okay? And what you need to know about that so you can better manifest on this particular new moon in Cancer. Now, Ardra is ruled by a deity called Rudra, which is a manifestation of Shiva, or Shiva. And this new moon in Cancer is really about this energy of the storm god, okay, who brings emotional catharsis, relief from ways in which we have had emotional outbursts, but now being managed by Saturn and Aries, structuring, bringing this taskmaster energy to Aries' initial anger, abrupt rage, turning it into this sacred pause through the storm. So it's ruled by the North Node energy, which in Vedic astrology is Rahu. And Rahu brings tremendous amount of illusions. Yet and however, in this part of the sky, this moon in Cancer, the part of the sky is actually about deconstructing these false realities, bringing this emotional power so that not with our physical earthly eyes, but with our watery and psychic abilities, we can see very clearly through these illusions as I itch my eye, which I believe the left eye is Pisces, but it could be Taurus. I forget right now. But we soak water. I'm going to go with Pisces. And so understand that there's the Pada, the specific area within this constellation of the new moon in Cancer is happening in the Pada of Jupiter, which is really about this spiritual expansion that we're going through. So this spiritual expansion is about breaking karmic patterns, going through this emotional release as we deconstruct what's not working emotionally speaking, okay? Having emotions where we were still attached to the old identity, where this is how we used to do things, this is how we were dogmatic and didn't want to change and shift, okay? Jupiter in Cancer, dogmatic emotions, how we judged them as good or bad instead of allowing them to be. So this storm is going to have a lot of people crying, okay? I've been talking to a lot of people have been crying. A lot of people go through intense emotional tears within the fabrics of our emotional realities, okay? So our fears will be ripping up and opening a portal. If you look at my Pluto and Aquarius video, I talked about this storm. This is one more manifestation of the intermediate storm. But let's go a little bit deeper beyond this particular part of the sky. That's some of the backstory. So when we apply this Vedic with the Western, we talk about this sacred womb, the collective womb, where all of us are in the process of a tremendous purification, okay, with Cancer energy, which is new fresh waters, cardinal waters, forward moving karmic direction that is literally splitting a brand new emotional path. But before this rebirth of energy that no longer has our past structuring our present or our future, okay, because the future is that Rahu energy. Rahu is future seeking, okay, future building. So it wants to build the future of our new emotional reality on this new moon in Cancer. New moon in Cancer. We have an opportunity to not continue to live by the wounds of the past. So before this rebirth, the storm has to clear everything out. So in your particular area, you may notice leading up to this new moon, a lot of rain has happened, a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning is happening all over the world. Okay, this is happening in the season where, April showers, May flowers, right? And then June, they start to bloom. So you'll notice this on this new moon in Cancer. So what this looks like is the divine mother meeting the masculine of Rudra or Shiva, okay? And when these two archetypes meet, it is what will create the emotional purification, because with the masculine, we'll have a very clear vision after the storm, okay? When all the fake and the illusions and the, alternate realities that are just not true for you in this present moment, when they no longer exist, this new moon, bringing in the mother energy of the sacred womb, will birth that baby, which is Aries, okay? Which was Aries, Saturn and Aries was in the structure of the womb, the mother's stomach, okay? Protected, have boundaries, emotional boundaries that can recognize, here's why I've been angry, here's why I was angry, here's the rage I did experience. This was the frustrations that were necessary to bring me a certain amount of tension and inner pull between the intellect and the intuition, like we talked earlier, so that I can start this project, so that I can birth this baby, whatever that baby is, whether it's raising a plant, for me, like I've been starting to really take on flowers, like blooming flowers. I've been starting to buy new kinds of plants like mint and hierbabuena, I think that's peppermint in English. And it's just this new blooming happening in my life, more flowers as well. So let's move into some rituals that can help support you in this new moon in Cancer before we get to the all 12 zodiac signs and horoscopes for each of you. 5 different seeds that you can plant, okay? We're going to talk about number 1 right now. Number 1 is cleansing this ancestral path, this ancestral lineage, okay? We're talking Cancer, but at the foundational level. And one of the things I see happening with this is the rebirth of this masculine toxicity when it comes to competition, all right? Realizing that when you pause and you freeze and you hold, you realize, who are you really competing with? okay? And it's about learning how to, in a sense, in a healthier way, um, urge yourself to grow, to move, to birth. This is one of the major new seeds within your ancestral lineage. And in order to do that, we have to walk a brand new emotional path that is backed by spirit, meaning you're being informed what to do, when to do it, as well as how to pause and sit in stillness with your initial urges that maybe an ancestor prior was unable to do. And they might speed up that transformation, whether through talking their way through it or drinking or some kind of way of some kind of maladaptation of their emotional truths being led by the false self, which when you smoke weed, what happens? Your ego blows up. When you drink alcohol, what happens? That fire, you blow it up, right? You become big-headed, you become egoic, egocentric. So it's like letting go of these maladaptations. And that could be so many ways through your family's lineage that you have to look at. That could be through food for another person. So let's talk about number two. Number two is reclaiming your right to cry, to feel, to be sensitive, okay? To reclaim your right to just exist and whatever emotional reality is important. For me, earlier today, this morning, like I felt very, very sensitive. My heart was like, damn, like why are so many people against each other, competing with each other, even within the astrology community, judging and criticizing? Because judgment is not bad, but criticizing, wanting to demean and condescend and put another astrologer down. We're all growing, we're all learning, we're all remembering this craft. This is a very ancient craft, older than everybody alive right now. No one knows it all. So, other than that, I've had a lot of clients coming to me and they're like, yo, like, thanks for talking about this, yada, yada, because like it allowed me to cry and I've been needing to cry for months. So number two is like reclaiming the right to feel seen, to feel like, yes, I can cry and that there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's another seed to plant. So manifest that, God, help me cry and release this false self, release these old programs, release these outdated emotions that keep me stuck and tied to the painful past. All right, number three, I like number three a lot. It's about creating this devotional service to your body. And what this looks like, I was talking to my partner the other day and I was like, man, like I realized like I only work like 2 to 3 hours a day, if that. And basically more than like double, triple that is just me taking care of myself. Like my morning doesn't even really start until like 11:30 a.m. And so like I'm waking up at like 6 though. So like for the first 5 hours, I'm just doing acupressure on my hands and my feet. I'm taking a slow shower. Like I'm doing meditations. I'm doing yoga. I'm stretching. Haven't even really been working out hard lately. I've been just focusing on more yin type activities and yogas. And I've been taking naps before I even begin to work, after I wake up. And this has all been very, very new for me. And so it's about creating a devotional relationship with your temple, your physical body, with your mind. My mind has needed a lot of rest. And it's like, okay, look, I went 3 days, no coffee. And like before that, I was going hard a little bit. And it's about no longer overexerting, okay, taking care of the solar plexus and understanding that, these ambitions of mine are aligned with what I'm being guided to do rather than what I feel programmed to do, which is Cancer. So this is another new moon manifestation and a third seed to plant. Create a more devotional relationship with your body and how you take care of it. All right, so now it's about turning emotional waves into this creative ritual, right? And this is the sextile to Mars and Virgo, which also wants to take care of the home, right? So the inner home, the external home, right? Within your physical earthly environment. Switching up your routines, switching up what matters, when they matter, all right? Getting very structured, getting very organized with that process is going to be a fourth seed that you can plant when it comes to nurturing not just the physical body, but the social, emotional connection with your mental focus, direction, purpose, all with clarity. And so you really want to write down some manifestations and plant this seed as we move on to the fifth one. Now, the fifth seed that I look to plant is releasing this need for this stoic level of independence. And I feel like this is a very big one for women as well, okay, who have felt like they needed to be the man. They felt like they needed to, be this hyper independent person where, what you cut off a lot of times is your innate feminine ability as this divine mother to invite, and actually not just invite, but receive, to open your hands when it comes to emotional intimacy, right? Like when you become so stoic, you cut off this ability to receive. So it's like those of you who may be working on whatever, but maybe the money is not matching. It's like, okay, well, there's a certain, I need to see into me intimacy. I need to align with my emotional necessities so that I can invite a loving relationship and partner where I don't need to be that man. Okay, and this can be reversed for the men on this channel that's watching, but this one feels more important for the feminine energy right now, so I'm going to leave it right there. This is one of the fifth seeds I look at you to plant on this new moon in Cancer happening on June 25th, 2025, manifesting again in January of 2026. So remember that Jupiter expands whatever it touches, and this is going to be about your spiritual lineage. This is going to be about the emotional bonds that you create, whether that's an emotional bond with a project, emotional bond with food, emotional bond within a relationship, emotional bond within yourself and your sacred structures and rituals that you create. Okay, the emotional bond with this brand new identity as you have cleansed the illusion of the storm of who you thought and you truly believed and actually acted upon who you thought you were, rather than who you truly are today. So Jupiter expands whatever it touches. All right. So Jupiter is in Cancer right now, is in its exaltation. Check out my video. I have forecast for all 12 signs for that. And it's going to be very clear to help you better manifest this next 6 months as we move into the next stage. So I have 5 spirit animals, and they just couldn't sit out. They were like, no, not 1, not 2, not 3, 5 wanted to come through. And it is a jaguar, it's a crab, it's a white egret. It's like a bird, like a heron. Kind of looks like those things that dive into the ocean, but not exactly. It's a wolf, okay, which we know a lot of times with family. And the final is an octopus. So let's talk about these 5 in brief for the new moon in Cancer. So the jaguar is really helping us through, as a guide, our emotional darkness. And this is what it can do. The jaguar is a great dream creature that sees through the night. And, what this emotional darkness looks like is, the sacred space that we have refused to create or acknowledge. As we move into the crab, which is obviously Cancer's totem, yeah? And it is about this divine inner truth within our temple, being willing to protect what's soft inside of us and consciously, in a healthy way, defend the things outside of us, trying to essentially destroy or taint the purity inside of us. Now, the octopus teaches us adaptability, okay? This sacred sense of adaptability where octopuses are often very, very deep in the ocean, okay? There's a lot of types of octopuses, but, they are the shapeshifters of the deep within us, shifting our reality, okay? And they really teach us a great amount of adaptability as they can camouflage themselves and turn and change into something else. So that's that. And then we have the wolf, which is the protector. Yeah, it's the one who is willing to go out alone if necessary, which is the Saturn and Aries part. But it also really wants a family to protect, to keep safe. So what is that emotional bond you created? This is the wolf medicine. And so remember, with the wolf, it's about creating a sacred tribe. So join our membership, all right? The Shaman's Roundtable, and you'll get that connection, you'll get that membership. And remember, anybody that ever buys into a service, I have a free WhatsApp group as well called the Shaman Sanctuary, where people are communing and diving in there. Then we have finally the white egret, which is again this white bird, or the great white heron, Heron, egret, Egret. And this is really about the sacredness that we experience through stillness. So that's what it teaches us. It teaches us through stillness, we gain emotional clarity. So when you're moving very fast, Aries, which Saturn wants to say, halt, okay, we can understand our frustrations and our urges and realize, okay, let me hold in this urge. If this urge exists tomorrow, if it exists in a week, then this is a true urge. I can move forward on that. And that's the 5th medicine of this particular animal, of all the animals. We move on to the next stage of this new moon in Cancer, happening June 25th, manifesting January something, 2026. Okay, so Jupiter, let's talk about transits now. This whole part is about transits. Jupiter in Cancer will conjunct the sun in Cancer and the moon in Cancer, about a 1-degree orb. And this is about beginning, okay, all three Cancer signs, cardinal energy, is about beginning a sacred study. Sacred being Jupiter in this instance, a sacred mentorship being Jupiter. And this sacred mentorship should be led by your emotional intelligence. So don't think with the mind, but feel with your heart. Somebody asked recently to say, I want to come to Mexico, yada, yada. So I introduced a one-on-one mentorship with them, for example, where you come in your retreat here in Mexico, 7 days, we go through the 5 elements and etc. And, they were like, oh, I'll think about it. And I told them, don't think about it. And I said, feel it. If you don't feel it, don't come, don't apply. Like, just stay home or do something else that you do feel. And so this is about a sacred study. It's about this ancestral knowing behind what you need right now on your ancestral and your healing journey, right? It's the mother expanding in her own divine wisdom and understandings, expanding the trust, the faith of, I don't know anything about Mexico. I don't speak the language. I don't have the money right now. But it's about trusting. If it's for you, I promise you, I've seen this in my own real life. Like, I went to Asia and I've never experienced anything. I went there, I was alone, but I trusted it was what I needed to do, and everything worked out. Even when I lost all the money, I got exactly the amount that I needed. So this is the first Jupiter, and then the moon in Cancer, and then the sun in Cancer, having that conjunction 1-degree orb. Let's move into the next transit. So now we have the moon in Cancer square Saturn in Aries. And what this looks like is becoming the parent that you felt you needed, especially if you felt shut down, right? So Aries is 0 to 2 years old, and it's like, look, the baby at that point, like a mom or dad could just be having a bad day, and you're screaming, and you're keeping up at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, you're hungry, you need to suck on mama's titty at some ungodly hour or very unfortunate, inconvenient time, and she gets annoyed, right? Or the dad gets annoyed or something. So, during that stage, you feel like you needed them for something that they didn't understand. And it becomes this emotional dependence. And we're in the process with this tension point of becoming the self-conscious leader that we need, where we can't depend on a parent or some sense of a guardian at every point of every day, of every moment. Sometimes we need to go off and survive and even thrive on our own. And this is what the moon in Cancer square Saturn in Aries looks like. Become the parent you felt like you always needed. And then finally, we have the moon in Cancer, which will sextile Mars and Virgo, which is literally about channeling the precise movement, the precise routine, the precise, which you can only have got from like the animal medicine of the white egret, for example, the emotional clarity we get through stillness, channeling that precise emotion, okay? Or not the precise emotion, but the chaotic emotion that waves like the ocean into a precise activity routine. This is literally doing breath work. This is doing the Ayurvedic healing and medicines. This is doing the Qigong. This is doing the flute cleansing. And this is doing the musical transmutation of energy. Your anger, your hot. And it's like taking the time to create space for that musical practice, for that thing where you could bring the earthly discipline into the reality of this ritualistic fire that Mars was under construction, because Mars represents needles and the surgeon's hands, doing and cutting you open like a C-section, for example. Saturn in Aries, cutting you open where you emerge through the womb, ready or not. Okay, this emergency thing. So Mars in Virgo will take what seemed chaotic or some kind of emergency and allow us to do the surgery with precision on how to channel this emotion into something very creative and productive. And these are the main transits that I'm looking saw on the new moon in Cancer that we can help manifest as you check those seeds, the animal medicines, and everything else we spoke earlier. Okay, so I have a ritual off to the side. Now I'm going to officially just kind of look at these things because it's too much to write and remember. But I call this one the womb of the storm, considering Ardra and Rudra, womb being Cancer related, Okay, so now you take a bowl of water, which is going to represent Cancer in the element. Okay, you can even touch the top of the water where it makes ripples, because this will become the waves and represents the Cancer. And when you do this, if you do touch the water, wash your hands first with soap or something. When you do this, take a white candle representing the moonlight, representing the clarity for the white candle itself. If you have a feather and or an incense, like I said, I keep my feathers in my plant. You can see the dirt coming off. Keep my feathers right here. So you take a feather, okay, and or an incense, or like right now, what I have over here. Oh no, I think I broke the feather. It won't go back in the plant. Okay. So now, or like behind me, I have a diffuser, and it's diffusing. So you could do anything that represents Cancer energy, whether that's lavender. Right now, I'm running peppermint. That's up to you. Sandalwood vanilla is a nice one. I like a lot. Actually, my partner likes it more. And this will represent the winds of Rudra, the storms. Yeah, the storms, the winds, the smoke coming from the diffuser, or an incense. And then you could take a small stone and or a bone to ground. So like I have a bone. I have a bone on my altar. And for me, I leave it alone. I'm not telling you more about the bone. But bones are great in shamanism. Okay, so you want to learn more about the more shaman rituals and stuff like that, come and join, take this one-on-one retreat with me. Or just come, do anything. There's so many ways. The mentorship retreat in person. Okay, now the bone is going to represent you grounding your intention. So right now we have the Cancer element, we have the moonlight, the clarity, we have the Rudra winds, we have the grounding of the intention. And here's the ritual steps. We'll take the medicine of that jaguar, which is going to be closely linked to Rudra and dismantling the false illusions, the false realities of the future and what it needs to exist presently now. And we're calling the jaguar. You'll face east, so you take a little right now. For example, my east is this way. I know east is this way, and I know west is that way, and north is that way, south is that way. So you take your east, okay, get a compass, face east. So I'd face east right here. This is me facing east now. And you breathe into your belly. And as you breathe into your belly, you say, I enter the storm not to be destroyed, but to be delivered. So type that down in the chat. I enter the storm not to be destroyed, but to be delivered. Type that in the chat. This is your ritual in life. Now write down your oldest inherited wound, okay? And then when you write that down, so my oldest inherited wound is my mother telling me to get down off the counters when I climbed up to get the cereal box. Where I was hungry, I had a need to feed and nourish myself, but I was told that it's animalistic to crawl up on the countertops, through the chairs, and go survive Saturn and Aries on my own without your support, right? So let's say this is my oldest wound. Now I burn that, or you take the water and you submerge it underwater. Fire or water, what element resonates more with you? I can't tell you. And now you chant to the moon and or Rudra, okay? So you can do this consciously on what moon? You're gonna do this on the Cancer new moon? Okay, great. This is a great time to manifest, plant seeds, right? Chant to the moon. Let your voice crack, cry, move, and let the purification come in. So what are you chanting? I can't tell you that right now because it can be very individual. Maybe you're chanting, I enter the storm not to be destroyed, but to be delivered. I enter the storm not to be destroyed, but delivered. I enter the storm not to be destroyed, but delivered. I enter the storm not to be deceived, but to enter. Right? It started changing. The song started changing for me, right? So like, I started with an example and it started to be like, yeah, not to be deceived by the false self, right? The self, the mask. And then finally, place your stone or the bone on the altar and let this represent, remember, the grounding of the attention as well as the seed of your new emotional foundation. And what you do with this, you keep this until January 3rd. So January 3rd, 2026 was the day of the full moon in Cancer, manifesting later. And plant it. At that point, you can plant it or you can return it to nature. So when you plant it, return to nature, it's like, yes, 6 months later, this is true, it is accurate. And then the final thing I have here for you is an affirmation which says something like, and you can type this in the chat down below, I root myself in truth, no matter how the storm rages. My tears are sacred water. My feelings are ancient guides. I am the storm. I am the shore. I am the storm. I am the shore. It shapes. Okay? And that's that, ladies and gentlemen. Like beyond that, I think I told you the important dates for this. January 25th, the new moon in Cancer. January 3rd is 2026 is going to be the full moon completion. And then last, you can look back to my June 11th video in 2025, where I talked about the full moon in Sagittarius, which quincunxes, not precisely, but Sagittarius quincunxes Cancer. But these, because they were in mutual reception, where the Jupiter was in Cancer and the moon was in Sagittarius, that mutual reception really activates this new moon way, 2 weeks ahead of time. Look at this is when we cracked open a truth. And now we plant those emotional truths that will then support the realities that we're recreating. So this is what I have for you. We get into the all 12 zodiac signs for each sign. Love. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you are brand new. Consider joining our 5-week alchemical circle of activation. There's a Father's Day deal out there. If not that, and community tribe with the wolf energy, the wolf medicine, is something you're interested in, come join our Shamanic Roundtable, where we do that breath work that was spoken about with Virgo. Virgo is the one who likes to learn from a mentor. It's the actions we take right now, learning from a master. I'm not telling you that I am a master, but I'm telling you that I could take you from here to there, to there, to there, to there, to connect the dots. So that said, I love you. I appreciate you. I will see you soon.